Greetings, mortals, and welcome once again to Half the Battle. You know, a lot of different fears can be boiled down to the same thing. Fear of the unknown.
When somebody says they're afraid of the dark, or when children say they are afraid of what's in their closet or under their bed, it's really the unknown they fear that lurks within that darkness.
And do you know what, besides darkness, also houses the unknown?
The ocean.
Who knows what lurks under the sea?
Under the sea, under the sea. Darling, it's better down where it's wetter. Take it from me.
Hey, don't ruin the atmosphere!
But it's true. From the first time a child finds a jellyfish washed up on the beach, they know. They know there's something in there. Something strange. Something frightening. And those that make horror and suspense their job will gratefully make use of this fear. It's no coincidence that Lovecraft's great Cthulhu and his abominations resided in a sunken city, or that the first blockbuster was about a terrifying killer that strikes from below the waterline.
Cobra had something that lurked below, too! Okay, you know what? Time out!
Look, 99.9% of the time, this show will go with the American name of a character. I mean, most of the audience is American, and the names tend to be better anyway. In this case, though, we're not calling him Hydro Viper. We're gonna go with the name he got in Belgium and Holland, because it's leaps and bounds better and more fitting. Meet the Cobra Sea Devil.
Yes, that's much more like it!
This figure was from 1988, with all original body parts. One was even a little more original than others. Yes, your eyes are immediately drawn to his left hand. It is open with webbing between the fingers. And I'll let you in on the secret early.
That's not a glove!
The other thing that strikes me when looking at this guy is the expression on his face. Well, I mean, the expression in his eyes, really. Dude does not look happy, does he? But he doesn't look angry either. A good description would be that he's sad but resigned to his fate. And we'll soon learn that's very appropriate. Now, you might be thinking, he's got a webbed hand, but he doesn't really look like a monster, does he? That's why you need his accessories.
Especially his helmet!
Sometimes accessories really make the action figure, and the Sea Devil is a prime example of this. Now that's what I call monstrous. And we're not even done. The icing on the cake are his flippers. That's not ordinary diving footwear now, is it? Those are hideous claws. These things are removable, but honestly, why would you want to? Much better to just pretend they are part of his body, like the webbed hand. Yes, I consider these things to be his actual feet. He comes with a knife, but no ordinary knife. It looks more menacing, more evil than an ordinary knife. The accessories sorta go downhill from there, but only because of the awesomeness of the helmet and the flippers. He's got a standard spear gun and oxygen tank. The tank connects to his helmet with two short hoses. And let me tell you, these things are a pain in the ass to put on and get them to stay on. I feel they even take away from the general design of the figure.
His final accessory is the most baffling one.
He comes with a pet manta ray.
I mean, why?
It's weird for a few reasons. First of all, the toy line had a habit of adding animals to the figures just for the hell of it. Sometimes it was logical, like a dog handler should have a dog. And you could even make the case for the sailor having a parrot. But other times, they just included anything that happened to fit the theme of the figure. Like Undertow, who came with a freaking barracuda, because he's a diver. Same goes with the Sea Devil. He came with a manta ray because...
Ocean, I guess?
That brings me to my second point. Why a manta ray? Because manta rays are completely harmless. If anything, the evil sea monster should have come with a stingray. Those are actually dangerous. And in either case, it's not like they'd be a pet that would follow them around and obey commands. This was the only toy of the Sea Devil ever made. He's one of the few characters that, so far, has not gotten a new toy even in the new lines. A real shame.
So, let's take a look at the character and find out why he's a Monster Month. I mean, he seems to be just a man, but isn't man the greatest monster of them all?
Well, no, that's still Cthulhu. Anyway, sea devils do start off as ordinary men. They were, in fact, eels. Cobra's elite frogmen. Only, these guys volunteered to be surgically altered to be more efficient underwater fighters. They're better at withstanding underwater pressure and are less likely to suffer from decompression sickness. They had those webs implanted between their fingers, and their fat production is stimulated to give them natural insulation. The long-term effects of all these procedures are known to be psychologically destabilizing, which would explain the look on their faces. And they volunteered for this.
I checked. The word volunteer isn't in quotation marks, even though I expected it to be.
So, a sea devil is an ordinary guy who voluntarily lets himself get turned into a monster, knowing it could drive him mad.
And you know what? They didn't go far enough.
They should have gone whole hog with these guys. Instead of still having oxygen tanks with those distracting tubes, why not give them the ability to breathe underwater? Graft some gills on there. Hell, there was an entire episode of the cartoon dedicated to just such a Cobra project. By the way, the Sea Devil, or Hydro Viper as you foolishly call him in the United States, did have one more interesting feature on his file card. He's the only character I've come across so far that has a secondary name in brackets next to the official name. He's also known as a demon of the deep. Now that's just awesome! The character was from 1988, so sadly he fell between the Sunbow and D cartoon series, meaning he didn't appear in either. And I couldn't find him in the comic either, though apparently he did show up in the English Action Force comic series, where it's inferred that sea devils don't wear scuba gear. That's just their skin.
I approve of this interpretation.
So that was the Sea Devil or Hydro Viper. An almost tragic character with a great story to tell. Too bad his story never got told in the cartoons or comics. Hell, I'd say a character like this could carry an entire movie, G.I. Joe or not.
Join me next week, mortals, when things are gonna get hairy. You know, sitting in the dark, with this mask on, trying to read a script. Sometimes I think I don't think these things through.